So Dhivian, thank you so much for joining me here today. I want to know a bit about you as a data professional and how you approach data problems in an organization.
Sure. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So I've been working in data and analytics for about 25 years. And my approach to data is something that I like to tell as part of a story. So I'm going to do that. So I'm South African. I was born on a small sugar farm on the east coast of South Africa. And if anyone's been to Africa, you know driving on the roads is a fun experience. So my granddad had a friend whose name is Harry. Harry had a Datsun. Back in the day, those Datsuns didn't have mag wheels, they had hubcaps. So Harry's driving along on the African road, hits a pothole, loses the hubcap. Goes home, and as he pulls in, he goes to his wife, look, this is what happened. Fine, hold dinner for me, I'll be back. And he goes down. Now, the intersections in Africa are a fascinating place. You can buy chickens, you can buy clothes, you can buy everything under the sun. So Harry goes and he finds a place that does repairs for hubcaps, and they do the replacement while he waits. Now, Harry's in a hurry and he goes, yep, just be fast. Sits down and he comes back and he does a quick look. Yep, fine, looks good, goes home. Drives home and his wife comes out and she says to him, he's all pleased with himself. She says to him, Harry, have you really thought about this? Have you looked properly? He's like, yeah, of course, it's fixed, look. And she's like, okay, come around. What they'd done is they'd swiped the hubcap from the other side and put it onto this side. And him not taking all the data into considerations made a very rash decision and gone, yep, all good. So that's the story I say. I like data to be something that people think of as giving you that holistic picture. Data helps you make better decisions.
I think that's a great analogy that he saw that part, he thought it was fixed, but it compromised somewhere else in the organization. And somewhere else in the car in your analogy. And I wonder if there is a use case though for what I hear a lot with people, especially with the generative AI at the moment, is there are data quality issues. Surely there's a use case for having a look at quality data in a context and then scaling the ability to have data quality better elsewhere in the organization.
In the legal sector, so I'm at Slater Gordon Lawyers. In the legal sector, data quality is a massive, massive issue across the entire sector, not just for our organization. And a lot of people ask, where do I start? Because you've got structured data, you've got unstructured data. I feel as data practitioners, we should be working with the business. We talk this concept of owners and custodians and stewards, but as that end user, they're going, there's a lot of data. What am I signing up to, first of all? And B, where do I start? Help me. And I feel our role as data practitioners is to take them on that journey. Work with that end user to define what are the crown jewels? What's going to help the business operate optimally? So once that's defined, let's work together, let's collaborate and really fix those data quality issues. Is it something in source? Is it something, user error or user education that we can address? So it's about going on that journey.
I think it would be hard to strike the balance because I see such a good use case for people involving end users in whether it's digital design or data driven. I wonder, in your experience, how does that impact having an overall data driven strategy? Is that possible, or does it just become pieces of what serves a particular user base?
I feel it evolves and it depends on the organization. Like my previous role, I spent 5 years as the chief data officer in a debt recovery context. And I'd come from another debt recovery company, but getting that organizational awareness and understanding how the organization operates, although I had the knowledge, there's always nuances and it's finding that right balance. Like you say, getting that balance is vital, and it takes time really understanding what's a priority for that end user for you to do that.
I suppose it would be challenging to get people along board to take a data-driven approach. You need some sort of use case, some sort of proof of concept to then be able to scale out. Was that something that you found in that particular industry?
Yeah, absolutely. That industry, again, very traditional in its approach, and it comes with a lot of negative connotations. Debt collection, why are you contacting me? Is this legitimate? There's all those types of things that you need to work through. The biggest use case that we had was the propensity to pay. So looking at the portfolio as a whole and then using really smart machine learning to identify these pockets of individuals. A, what is their likelihood to pay? But then B, looking at the optimal channel. Because debt collection, the traditional is, ring up, ring up, ring up, and you're going to get the same outcome if you do the same thing continuously. But you can start Australia is very technologically enabled. A lot of people have mobile devices, smart mobile devices, and you start using things like smart IVRs or, push to text type SMS functionality where you can click a link and securely process your payment. Those types of things open up. The best use case was us designing that, and we had to do very much a POC type scenario where you take the executive on that journey because they're going, well, what is this thing? I do not understand it. And you basically have your control group, you benchmark against the control. Dollars and cash is king in that debt collection scenario. So if you can show an uplift against a control group, you're away.
It's kind of like that A/B testing, right? You
100%.
See what works on one group and benchmark it against the other. That omni-channel experience is interesting because we talk a lot about creating a single view of customer, creating data-driven journeys. How do you find is the best way to approach using data to deliver experiences consistently across channels?
Yeah, the single customer view is probably the starting point because if it's Gabby with the middle name and Gabby with just an initial, are they the same person? If you can work that out, I think that's a large proportion of the work done. There are obvious challenges because your different source systems might not be in sync and data from external sources might not necessarily correlate. So it's important to get that foundation in place first. What I found in terms of omnichannel is to use the data that you have about the customer already. So if you can say, this customer has interacted with an email, for example, previously, we know that there is already a defined precedent for that customer. If you do not know that, then you use your best guess for what's the optimal channel for a customer that looks like this within this industry with these preferences.
And then it's about balancing the customer journey, the customer data with their privacy requirements, right? And that's always an issue with what is the right level of friction, what's the right level of safeguards for you to be able to correctly engineer the experiences that they want to have. How do you strike that balance?
I think a defining principle there is, are you doing the right thing by the customer? So if you can make their journey as frictionless as possible, I'm sure there's no one in the world that goes, I want to have a really difficult interaction with a company. They want you to make it as seamless as possible. And that friction comes with the use of the right data in an appropriate format. There is the creepiness factor that you need to be absolutely aware of. And that's really governed by your policies. So ensuring that you've got good data usage policies, you capturing customer consent in the relevant scenarios. But yeah, having those guardrails in place will help make that decision for you.
Excellent. Look, I think that's a really good conversation. The last thing I like to ask everyone that I sit down with is, what's on the future horizon that we should be more focused on, that you don't think we are at the moment?
I think that's a very good question, and I can take that a number of ways. I think broadly as a data and analytics community, we've got all this hype about AI, we've got all the expectations from boards and CEOs, etc. It's really about managing that expectation. And what I'd like to see us do more of is put more emphasis on the governance and the governance frameworks. The sexy stuff, as I call it, the AI and the use cases, they're there. But for us to protect the customer or the client, we speak at Slater and Gordon about it's a privilege that clients put their trust in us to manage their data. So are we doing the right thing by that customer or by that client in terms of protection and the use of that data?
I think that's a great sentiment because that extends and that goes even further beyond client privilege. This is taking the extra care, respecting the customer's privacy.
100%.